hearing from the crowds that you're tough as woodpecker.
He's apologising for kicking a drop goal.
Jorgensen, Max Jorgensen, no, he didn't. Oh my goodness, man. Rush there, rush. He's got the record. Tom Wright, just too good. This is ecstasy for Wallabies fans.
Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Scrumbags Rugby Podcast, your home of Aussie rugby, and it might just be home for another week. We aren't galloping into Super Rugby Finals. We're very much limping there, and to carry me across the line, we've enlisted the help of one of Australia's brightest and best online, Dane Sherratt, Kick On Rugby. We've finally got a hold of you, mate. Welcome to Scrumbags.
We're here. How good. Thanks. I've been sitting on the bench, and I say this with every episode, every podcast I've been called on to. I've been sitting on the bench for a while, and the coaches brought me in, man. So I'm ready to cook.
And as we mentioned off the top, the Super Rugby season is run and done for the regular sense. After 16 weeks, we have a top six that I think most people would have comfortably locked in. Crusaders, Hurricanes in no particular order, Blues, Chiefs, Reds and Brumbies, filling that out. However, from our side of the ditch, Dane, as a freshly minted Aussie citizen as well, we look with some trepidation at the makeup of that top six, and the Reds and Brumbies have, well, they haven't slid so much as plummeted off the back end of the season. Fifth, Queensland have finished up. Sixth, the Brumbies. What have you made, just in general, of the Super Rugby regular season so far?
It's kind of been very similar for the past couple of years, where I feel like the Aussie teams come out absolutely firing. Brumbies put 50 points on the Crusaders. Everyone's like talking up the Aussie teams, me included, right? And then it just slowly, like as the season wears in, like you said, they slowly kind of drop down, or the New Zealand team slowly then start to come alive. And it just then the table kind of figures itself out how it's been the past couple of years. So like you said, there's no kind of surprises with that top six, although I had the Brumbies way down. I think for the longest time they've been kind of banging that door of always being that Aussie team that makes the finals and then just drops out. And I thought this was going to be their year, that it's just one too many and they're just going to drop out. They've proved me totally wrong. Reds have always just been there and thereabouts again, getting to the finals and then getting knocked out. As for Western Force, Waratahs are probably my biggest disappointment, especially with the squad that they have. You can't look at the squad, you can't look at the coach because they've had that many coaching changes. So it's like, is it Sydney where they're based? That is the bogey. It's like, man, New South Wales is so big. Stop playing in Sydney. Come play down in the country, or up in the country. Come play somewhere else. I don't know if that's the issue there. And then for the Western Force, it's like, wow, you've come really good the last 4 games, but where was that at the start of the season? So there's a lot of things, and obviously at the back end, you can look at it and talk about it a lot easier because everything has happened now already. But I guess, like, from an Aussie point of view, it's kind of like, it's just the same again. And from a Kiwi point of view, it's like, it's kind of just the same again. What's your thoughts been?
Mate, you took the words right out of my mouth. I think it's just, it feels like I'm stuck watching the same terrible episode of a sitcom, or very much Groundhog Day. We sort of had, when we looked at the start of the year, it felt as though your pick on the Brumbies was bang on. They've just lost too many stars to retain their pole position as chief Australian team. But my tip that the Reds would overtake them on the Aussie rankings only came to fruition in the final round. So even with all the exits that the Ponies had, it still took a Moana fairy tale finish in Canberra plus the Reds to hold off and keep that bonus point win against the Drua. It was very much down to that last round to determine that. But we're certainly not at the areas that we want to be in that 5th and 6th. It's the first time that an Aussie team hasn't hosted a qualifying final or quarterfinal of any sort. We'd have to be going back into like the sort of pre-conference era for that to be the case. And we're in the sort of unwanted territory, as we sort of threw in a collab post a little earlier today, Dane, that this will be the first ever Super Rugby semi-finals all Kiwi if the favourites sort of progress and the Blues march through on 4th. So just as a quick rundown, I'm sure our listeners already know, but the ladder's finished up. Hurricanes and Chiefs were untouchable regardless of that result in 1 and 2. They will host finals. The Crusaders leapfrogging the Blues as a result of their win over a Canes team that admittedly rested a lot of players. So that puts the Blues into 4th. Reds finish 5th, Brumbies 6th. Before we sort of look into those finals permutations, which will be at the back end of this episode, we're going to do a little bit of a report, a bit of more of a deep dive, Dane, on the Aussie teams. And you touched on them before, and perhaps that's where we'll start with the Waratahs, because it has, as you mentioned, gone oh so wrong for a squad with so much talent. And again, off the back of a lot of home games at the start of the season, some great wins, especially that first up one over the Reds, drew a big crowd. It's just seemed to fall apart, and I genuinely can't put my finger on it.
What I also, yes, Dan McKellar, I think last week was saying about injuries, and I get it. In certain positions, they wouldn't just have one injury. There'd be 2 or 3 in that one position, right? But these are the kinds of things that you need to plan for. You need to have backups. What gets me is that Shoot Shield is the strongest club competition. I would put my hat on it, amateur level in the world, right? They could compete against any club competition in the world, I feel like. Shoot Shield. That's here in New South Wales, in Sydney. But then to that next level, there's just no connect. I don't know how, you should have depth. This is the best club competition in the world, I feel like, in the Shoot Shield. And it's just not being able to transfer into that super level. The way they play when they started the season, I was like, great, big forwards, getting over the ad line, using their backs. Then you've got Jorgo, Sid Harvey. He only came in a little bit later, but Suali'i, Harry Potter, these guys they were scoring good tries, and it was good to watch at the start. And then it kind of fizzled out. It's like those race or the country runners where you have the pace starter or pacemaker, where he runs out and he runs the first lap. He just blistering pace and then just falls off. And then everyone else just takes over. And that's what it felt like with the Waratahs, man, because they come out firing and it was great to watch, and then just nothing. So for me, I don't know how it goes from the Shoot Shield being such a strong club competition to then that being the feeder to to the Waratahs, and them just not being able to, I don't know, transfer those players, the quality or the talent there to Super Rugby. And I get it's a big gap, right? But you have to close in that gap a little bit. There has to be some sort of connect there. I don't know if I'm onto something or I'm talking absolute smack there, but I don't know, man. Something just doesn't add up.
Well, it's with successive coaches now as well. I think that's the more worrying sign for the Tahs, that it's not just Dan McKellar. This is dating back to sort of any post-Checker era, which very much feels like a flash in the pan now, that 2014 success. Systemic may be the right term to use, but I can't point exactly what the faults are. What I can, I guess, highlight as a problem that we saw at the start of the year, Dane, was that there was so much money and so much talent concentrated just in the outside backs. There were clear gaps around midfield and around experienced front rowers to begin the season. And it feels like, given the problems around 10, which you just noted as well, which is bang on, it looks like they didn't get the key areas as a priority.
Yeah, absolutely. I think 10, yes, I think 10 was probably the big one for me. Deprezini comes in and, could help. The experience he has, obviously massive, could help another 10, but they just didn't have that other 10. I don't think they had a dominant 10. And I said it in one of my reviews throughout the season. Yes, they had guys there that, can do a job for 20, 30 minutes, but no one that really grabs that team by the scruff of the neck and said, listen, this is my fucking team now. You guys need to listen to me. And whether I make the wrong decision or right one, we're just going to go with it. And they get backed by the team as well. And that's tough. And that's kind of with all of the teams in Aussie, really, about having that dominant 10, your 10 being a bit kind of question mark when it comes to the Wallabies as well. And then, as you mentioned, with the front row, like, yeah, you get 1 or 2 injuries and it's tough, man. You're handing a debut to a 33-year-old player who's done well, the Fijian fella, when like to come in. But yeah, it's tough, man. And that's, again, like when you have to lean on the club players, but that gap is so big. But still, I still feel like there's something there that they're missing. When you talk about like Shoot Shield being so good and then having all of these players, but then somewhere it's just missing. But yeah, like you mentioned, the front row being a big issue, and at 10.
The depth thing's really interesting. It's been so long, like the Shoot Shield to Tahs debate. It's the same up in Brizzy with, QPR and into Reds and across all 4 of our games at the moment. It feels like Premier Rugby in general is in quite a healthy space, and yet not translating, whether it's players, whether it's crowds. That's its own sort of week-long episode into the health and a bit of a pulse check for sure. But just by the numbers, like Tahs finish up at the end of that season, 5 wins, 9 losses. They lost 4 of their last 5 games. That Fijian Drua win away feels very much like the outlier when you consider they dropped 2 games to a tough 4 side. The Highlanders game felt like a missed opportunity, and then sort of died in the arse against the Brumbies. So much of that is being put on the absence of key players like Suoliti, who was excellent last night in that loss to the Force. But you must be so frustrated as a Tahs man as well, seeing that amount of quality crippled by injury. What do you make of how the Tahs have managed Suoliti this year?
Well, they haven't really had to, right? Because he hasn't played much, you know what I mean? So I guess then it comes down like these guys are he's one of them, a finely tuned athlete. And you look at some of those guys that are explosive, fast, agile, like big bodies as well, super strong. When you get soft tissue injuries, that stuff just niggles, man. It niggles. And what's it been? His hamstring, then his calf.
It's everything.
It's just niggling things. You look at, sorry to bring it up, but you look at someone like Kalen Ponga here for the Knights. For the longest time, his hamstring. And it's these athletes that rely so much on their explosiveness, their agility, that when you get these soft tissue injuries, it just niggles, man. And these guys are racing to get back because that's the thing, is they need to play. They want to play as well. So it's tough, I guess, because he would also be someone that, while super professional and would want to get his body 100% right, it's that fine line between that and, like, I need to fucking play as well. So it's tough, man. I think they've managed him well because they haven't really had to. Because I don't know what the stats are, but he hasn't played much at all this year.
It'd be a handful, mate. He certainly played less than half the available games he could have for the Waratahs across his 2 seasons, and conversely, almost all the Wallabies tests he's got up for. So it's a strange kind of setup there. You can't ping it all on your 13-man, but certainly some troubles. Otherwise, they wouldn't be in the position where they are, where they finished the bottom. Aussie team finished 8th for the season. We'll pop up now to the Force, who came home with a wet sail. On the other side of the thing in Super Rugby, winning 4 of their last 5 games, including their last 3 at home to finish out the season. Weird game last night to see a dead rubber sort of played out with such intensity in the last 20. But the Force, like, they have just been awesome at the back end of this year, and a really enjoyable team to watch. They finished 7 wins, 7 losses for the year, even though they were out of finals contention. Their best finish since 2012. But as you mentioned off the top in our little intro, Dane, just came too late in the piece.
Yeah, and this is the back end is what I expected from the Force at the start, because the past couple of years, I've loved how the Force play, how they play. It, like, throwing the ball around, can score tries from anywhere, love to chance their arm, and they've got players that can do that. They've added to the forward pack coming into this year, or the team or the forward pack has just been playing for that much longer together. You've had a few guys then making their Wallaby debut as well. So you've got a strong forward pack, which they've added to as well, and then you've got some more exciting backs. And it's like, okay, this is maybe the year that they make finals, and they just miss out. I think it was 4 points. They were 4 points off the Brumbies from missing out. So again, it would be one of those seasons where they go into next year with a lot of hope again and a lot of confidence that they can do it. But whether or not they do it is, again, up to them and how they recruit again. I'm just trying to think off the top of my head. There's not necessarily 1 or 2 positions specifically that you would like to bolster. But you can't go wrong with up front, like the front row, just adding to the forward pack again, because you've got guys out wide like Lomax, Peach, George Bridge. Like these guys and Max Greeley, they've been really, really good and exciting and good to watch as well. So, just unfortunate, a little bit too little too late.
I think you've nailed it there with where they should be looking next year. I think the biggest exit that they have to contend with now is Darcy Swain heading abroad. He's been so important in that line-out piece with Big Jeremy Williams as well. But very much tight five becomes their focus. Champion de Crepney, Tizano, Ekoasi, Harris, like they have so much talent in that back row area as well. So just making sure that you have, I guess, some supplements behind the Harry Johnson Holmes, the Tom Robertsons, those more stalwart guys. Like who are the next up and comers? Marley Pearce, an exciting prospect at loose head. I always think teams find themselves short a tight head or two at this back end of the season. So that's like their main pillar, right, that they need to focus on. Like every team, we want to find the next big tight head. Leaps and bounds. We talked about the back end of their year, but they just started so poorly, losing 4 of their opening 5. It felt like a big missed opportunity early doors against the Brumbies. Those are games they should have won. But conversely, like they've shown that they can absolutely smash teams like the Reds. They took down the Crusaders. I just struggle to see what went wrong in those games aside from, I guess, a late switch off. It felt like they couldn't quite close out games at times, especially in that tour across the ditch early doors.
Yeah, it also felt like even though a lot of their guys had played together for a long time, it just felt like they weren't clicking in that regard. So they're like, the more time they spent together and played together, then they started to get better. And I think Tizano said it in my preview of the season is if you start slow, then you find yourself having to really catch up for games and catch points or get points. You're under pressure to get points or winning games. The back end of the season, and you put yourself under, like subconsciously even, you put yourself under so much pressure. And then, as you know, you're not playing to how you would want to play. You're not playing freely, which is how they're the best are. Like they're one of the best teams when they are playing freely. So I think when they've put that, I won't say unnecessary pressure, but like the pressure on themselves because of how poorly they started the season, the back end of then it's like you're chasing your tail. You come up against teams that are also now fighting for points, and it's just like you left it way too late.
You're so close in that like Fijian game. It really sticks in the mind just how rushed they looked. Sort of week before last, but sort of casting the mind back a little bit, listeners, but needing a bonus point in that game put themselves under undue strain. It was a far cry from the freedom that they played with against the Reds, against Crusaders, against even the Tahs at the back end of that game most recently. So really, really excited for what they have. I think we can pretty clearly say that the Tahs on a sort of pass-fail mark have failed this year, but the force breaking even, their best wins for and against since 2012, as we mentioned, but they've still missed finals. Would you give this a pass mark for Simon Cron's team?
I'm going to go off the back of what Carlo Tizano said in my preview of the season, and I'm going to say it's a fail. For they wanted finals. They would have had that on their big whiteboard, and they didn't get it. So that's plain and simple. It's a fail then for them.
I love that the standard's getting that high for the force. Like I know we saw a couple of the previews that you did. We had a great chat with Kurtley Beale where they were like, "No, we want to be finishing finals. Nothing short of that is it for us." And so I'm inclined to agree. Like I didn't pick them making finals personally, but I knew that they'd get close. This is the platform from which they need to now launch further. They can't be sliding back from here. A team that has definitely slid back from last year, but they've still crawled into the Brumbies. We'll get to them now. It's a bit of a wrap. They finished also 7-7. Their worst finish since Super Rugby went Pacific. I don't really know what to make of a side that was so dominant against the big Kiwi teams early and has yet... they look a shadow of the team that smacked the Crusaders in Christchurch round 4.
Yeah, it's like everyone has just figured them out now and that's it. They've got no plan B. Like for me, Brumbies, whenever shit hits the fan for them, they revert back to what they know, and that's the forwards being super physical, like dominating set piece, keeping it tight, and scoring tries like that. Where now, like the Kiwi teams, they love that stuff as well. They're also super good at set piece, and they can also tackle for 13, 14, 15 phases. If you just want to pick and go, like they're just going to meet you there. So I think they've kind of been matched in that regard. You look at like some of the guys out the back, and last year you used like Tom Wright and Corey Toole were just on last year, where like it was beautiful to watch. Everyone had them every single week in their fantasy squad. They were scoring points, right? Where this year Tom Wright's only come in like halfway through, I think it is. There's a bit of disruption there. I'm like, Muirhead was really good, but I think just that connection that Tom Wright and Corey Toole had, that kind of missing, then Corey Toole kind of a shell of what he was when his partner isn't there. So that kind of like, when you have the forwards setting it up for those backs, when they're on, like it's great, right? But when that's not working too well, and they revert back to their forward game, and then that gets matched as well, then they kind of don't have, like, there's nothing else really for them. I, at the start of the season, said that they were going to be the worst performing Aussie team. I just felt like they had been banging on that finals door, for like forever, right? It hits the finals time, and they get knocked out the first game, and then that's it. And I felt like this year was just going to be that. You know when you knock against something and then just all of a sudden you're just like, oh, fuck, I'm done with this, man. And I thought that was going to be the Brumbies this year. And to be like half, right? Like they're only in the middle, right? Because they're 7, what was it, 7 for 7?
Yep.
Yeah, 7.
Split same record as the Force.
Yeah. So like in their eyes, that's not good enough. That's not good enough at all. What did you think of it?
Yeah, it felt like they were going to slide back a little bit just from the key areas. And we sound like broken records here, because I know you said something similar, but like no Lenny Town, no Noel Elasia, no Tom Hooper. They were their game drivers. That's the spine of that team, along with Tom Wright, Ryan Lonergan, and an all-Wallaby tight 5, essentially. Without that guaranteed go forward, I feel like they've really missed Lenny Tau's exit off the left as well. They've just sort of crippled themselves as to how they can get out of tricky positions. And that's so much experience at Super Rugby level. Not even looking at their Wallabies test, though, that trio in particular would have been, I reckon, near 200 games for the Brumbies combined between the three of them. It's just an awful amount of IP to lose all in one go. And the sort of the flash in the pan early doors from Declan Meredith and how exciting that was for 4 rounds has very much died in the arse. No one's talking sort of Wallabies bolters now, are they? After he's been put under the pressure cooker, and perhaps all the James Slipper goodwill early doors, milestone wins, a couple of lucky getaways against the Chiefs and the Blues at home, maybe that papered over some of those cracks that we've seen open up later on. And I actually feel like Tom Wright's introduction back into the team has hurt them, because Muirhead was doing such a solid job. He's not the same game breaker that Tom Wright is, but he was the glue keeping Toole and Sapsford, or Toole and Kai Oates together, who was really good before he started getting some niggly bits, and just changes throughout the season. They haven't been able to find and really hit their stripe. So I don't have enormous hopes for them come next week. But again, this is a Brumbies team that has such a phenomenal record over the Canes and knockout footy. I think they'd be very upset to see who they're coming up against. I just think in every metric they've gone backwards. Some great finds. Like, don't get me wrong, Lachie Shaw has been one of the finds of the season starting. But
Charlie Cale coming back playing.
That was big too.
He's huge. Obviously got a bit of injuries. I saw he did play last night, or when was it? Yesterday. Sorry.
Yeah.
So that's great. Who else is Pritchard? I feel like has been really good, a good find for them as well
solid
in the centres. And then, like you said, like Declan, he's keeping all the talking point was Tane Edmed coming down to the Brumbies, right? Wallabies player wants to come down and lock in the number 10 jersey. So and Declan's done really well to keep him out of the 10 spot there, but he's also kind of calmed down a bit. Like, it was huge and it was great. I loved it. I was all on top of it. I was one of the first ones calling for a bolster or a bolter into the Wallabies squad, because he was playing that good, man. Anything he was doing, like, he was physical in contact, he was kicking well, he was setting plays up, but that's kind of quietened down a bit. I think Alan Alatoa coming in late, because he was injured at the start of the season as well. So he's kind of like, that's your captain, your stalwart up front. Him coming in late was also kind of a bit of a spanner in the works. Although their front, like their props, like shot fun
tight
there.
5 is phenomenal.
It's huge, isn't it? Yeah. So, yeah, but again, I come back to that. Like, they revert back to bullying you up front, but I feel like they got matched quite a few times this season in that regard, like at set piece and in and around the rucks.
Yeah, line-out time was a weird one. Like, it's hurt a lot of the Aussie teams, barring the Force, who were just a par excellence, to be honest, around the line-out. But if you have a look through, like, the Brumbies finish up at around 84% for line-out, and really that's a dip off, like, their standards around set-piece execution. So too around the scrum, just little bits and bobs around. I don't know if it's so much Billy Pollard's throwing or the fact that they didn't have Nick Frost as a regular starter, but that was an area that wobbled for them. So I found that strange. That was a big diversion from what we expect of Brumby ball and having such a dominant maul as an attacking platform as well. So that hurt a bit. And also just like the sheer game-breaking ability of a Tom Wright in full stretch. He was such a good playmaker off the back of Noah last year, and he was setting up more tries than scoring them. I think he finished up with like 10 or 11 tries since last year. So having a second playmaker absent from your team, it feels like they had a lot less avenues to score this year.
Yeah.
It came from like rolling up the sleeves, trying to play Brumby ball, and then when that didn't work, they didn't have their ace.
That's right. Yeah.
So it's a tough one.
Like you mentioned about Ikitau as well, like not just his left boot, but his ability to beat
everything.
Defenders, man, is wild. And he also added that distribution to his game as well. So that's a lot. That's a big miss.
I just sort of dug it up through here, Dan. I was going through teams' stats overall and defenders beaten. Like Brumbies have a 10th overall for tackle busts. So like they've dropped way down. They've lost those. They've lost those people that can shift through and move. But yet they find their way in the finals. Somehow they're still there. We'll get to that preview in just a tick after we get through the Reds, who very much, I guess, carry expectations for Australia into the finals off the back of a season that maybe shouldn't give you too much confidence. They finish up 8-6 for the season. So another winning season under Les Kiss, the same record, I think, identical that he had 24 and 23, 8-6, finishes 5th. I need someone impartial to have a crack at the Reds because in my heart, I still can't take my Reds hat off. So what have you made of their 2026?
Inconsistent is probably the first thing that I would say, and there was a lot of heat on Les Kiss when they were in the down bit of their season. Obviously, because he's now going to be the next Wallabies coach, and how can he be that when they're playing like this? But credit to him, man. So pull their socks up, roll their sleeves up as well, and best Aussie team this year. I kind of did not expect that. I thought they were just going to it was just going to be a bit like, especially around selections. They had that many fly-offs to pick from. As like, who do you pick? Is it going to be super inconsistent like that? Then Tate McDermott got, I don't know when, I can't remember when his injury was, but he was injured for a lot of the year. That was back from
Bledisloe last year, so he only came back against Moana.
Right, yeah, that's right. So he's been out for most of the season. Kalani Thomas, Wirchin was probably a good find. Wirchin was. He come in and did really well. Obviously, he's kicking at goal, helped them out a lot. And in the backs, like Ryan was good, but it just didn't have that. I don't know, the go forward in the back line, especially your first phase. Like usually Hunter Paisami and those boys were getting over the advantage line and giving a good platform to work from. But I feel like that lacked a little bit this year, or especially at the start of the year. I do think they come really good because you had guys like Fraser McWright, Salakai Lotu, Harry Wilson, and now Carter Gordon, like these guys coming into really some good form. And it's like, that's probably the upside with them now. And that's probably the only, like, they're the team that I've got the most hope for, if any hope for Aussie team to win in the finals is kind of the Reds. Because it's also, you go into the game and it's like, which Reds team are gonna pitch here today?
Frustrating beyond belief. You have no idea. Even like injuries, like every team, you have to deal with it. But I think your point on the punch midfield is bang on. It feels like Hunter Paisami's been really solid, but teams are able to shut him down and match him pretty well, and they're not getting the same punch. missing Lukan Salakaia-Loto for chunks and Josh Cannon for chunks of the year has also hurt that line out too. That's dropped down a wee bit. So doesn't quite feel like they hit their straps. And I'm not even sure that they have, to be honest. I don't think we've seen the Reds' best footy this year. So much hinged on that game Friday night, just gone, being able to get a bonus point win over the Drua after the Drua led sort of 5-6 minutes after halftime. I think that's the only period where we've started to go, oh, actually, maybe this Red side can do it. Because if they drop that game to the Drua and like sort of slither their way into finals, no one's got any hope whatsoever. This is just maybe a little flicker here. Wow, what good parts stood out to you from the Reds? We've talked about the inconsistency, which is so fair. Line out a little shaky. Has there been a player or an area that you think that they've stood up in, or areas, is it much the same from last year?
So I've been loving Carter Gordon the past few weeks, and his ability with ball in hand. I love that he takes the line on. He's probably one of the few 10s that really attacks the line with ball in hand, but then he can also right up at the line, throw a triple skip pass and hit someone on the chest, right? And that ball in two hands just creates so much indecision in the defensive line. And I love a 10 that really attacks the line. And you think now I'm thinking a little bit further on with Wallabies, you have Ikitau running off his hip. You have Suali'i or whoever at 13. Like there's something there, right? And he's obviously added now to his toolbox of skills, kicking off the tee. He's changed how he kicks off the tee, so he's gone from a just upright ball to he's now like that, and it's working really well for him. We know what he does with ball in hand. We know what he does defensively as well, but it's the kicking off the tee that's been the big issue for me. And I think he's added that to his game and done really well like that. Just that bit more game time. Obviously, Tom Liner being injured, a few of the other 10s being injured or not given game time, and they've kind of backed Carter Gordon this last few games, and it's really worked well for him, like confidence-wise as well. So that's probably my shining light there. And then just quickly, probably Daungunu, the Junkyard Dog, Fraser McWright, and Salakaia-Loto. Like they've been my standouts for them. Like the amount of work Tim Ryan, Junkyard, amount of work he gets through off the ball is wild, man. He reminds me of a Mac Hansen, where it's just those small things where he's on the left wing or the right wing, he'll pop up and score a try on the right wing, or he'll pop up and make a cross-cover tackle, or just be an option there, or whether that's just cleaning a ruck out where it was an isolated ruck and he's the first one there to clear it or secure the ball. So that's some of the things that I've been watching out with Tim Ryan, and I'd love to see him at that next level. I know the Wallabies are stacked in the back three, but when you talk about those kind of those uncoachable things, Junkyard Dog gets through so much work, man, and I love it. He can finish as well. Like, man, he's I know he's only 88 kilos or something, but man, he punches well above his weight, and similar to Mac Hansen.
Yeah, footy smarts, I think, is the best way to look at Timmy Ryan. Knowing where to be is almost a more important skill than the execution once you get there, and he seems to have both pretty well handled at the moment. Like, I think Wallabies wise, that is such a backlog. Yeah. Oh my God, how do you pick out of Dylan Peach, Filippo Daungunu? Yeah. It's just, it's a crazy Jorgensen. It's wild. Mate. Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy, but I think Timmy will get his chance at some stage. I wouldn't be surprised to see him, if he ever wanted to, have a crack on the 7 circuit. I think he's the kind of player that would actually thrive in that kind of environment, but that's getting a little off-piste from me. Reds-wise, I think the highlight for me has been seeing some of the lesser-known players up in the pack starting to step up. There was a lot of question marks around loose head prop stocks for me at the start of the year. It felt very much like Aiden Ross and Daylight. To see George Blake step into a more loose head role rather than a hooker where he sort of floated across between has been really impressive. Vice Latu, Joe Bryle, they've both been able to step up a little bit there and support that sort of main category. But for me, I don't think we actually saw the Reds' best pack until the Drua game, where you have Canham, Salakaia-Loto, and Uru on the side. That's the kind of thing that makes you go, oh, this is some quality that you can lean on. Because against the Chiefs, where we're going to get to pretty shortly, like, you need to have big bodies. You need to be dominant around the set piece. Because at the moment, that's where those 4 Kiwi sides who are above, Canes, Chiefs, Crusaders, Blues, they have bigger, scarier, and more effective packs than the Aussies at the moment.
Yeah. It just comes back, like rugby is it's getting over the advantage line or stopping people from getting over the advantage line. That's the core of it, right? And big bodies is, man, it's going to stop people from getting over the ad line and it's going to get you over the ad line, man. So that's probably the biggest thing. And like you mentioned there, they do have the bigger bodies there. So hopefully they can stay fit. It's then the depth, right? Those last 20, 30 minutes is then can you bring guys on that can still match the intensity or the physicality, but then take it up a notch or two as well. And that's what the Kiwi sides, or at least three of them, I'm not too convinced about the Blues, but the other three, they've got just depth.
Well, let's go there now then, and we'll feed nicely into a little bit of preview chat. We've kind of glossed over the weekend's results, but knowing very much what the top six was, it feels like that's a okay thing for us to do in this. Working our way sort of top down, 1 to 4. Just a quick thought from you on these teams so far. We'll start with the Canes. They finished 11-3. They already had top spot wrapped up before they went to Christchurch with basically a Canes A side. Yeah. To me, they seem far and above the form side when they're at their best. What have they done so well this year, and how have you seen them?
So I think it's like accumulation of 5 or 6 years. Like this is a core group of players now that have been playing together for the longest time, and it's taken them a while to kind of learn off each other or understand, like timing wise, and all come to the point in their careers where they've all got like 40, 50 Super Rugby caps. They've all been playing together for a while now. They all understand each other, and that's all working together. And they're all playing like all of those players, like your Duplessis, Karifi, Peter Lachie, like I can just mention them all off. They're all individually probably playing the best rugby they've ever played, right? And then together it's working really well. I feel like teams will have individuals that are in the form of their life, but as a team, as we know, rugby is a team sport. As a team, it's just not clicking. But the Canes, man, and I think it's been 6 or 7 years that these guys have been building. So I think it's that. I don't think it's necessarily just this year that it's all happening. Well, yes, it is just this year, but it's off the back of those years. You know what I'm trying to say? Yeah. Yeah,
it feels like 2024 was such a missed opportunity for them. Like they finished top of the log, they lose their home semi against the Chiefs, sort of against the odds, and bow out there. This feels like a revenge year. It's like the post break glow up. They've just got fitter, they've got faster. You got Finianganofo on the edge doing crazy things. To score 86 tries in a season is bonkers. They've got the most for and the least against. It's crazy work from them both sides of the ball. So I have nothing but admiration for what they've done in the season, and also for the Drua for being one of the only teams to really stick it to them. It's crazy when you think about that game early doors. Chiefs finished second. We knew that was tied up even before last night's clinic against the Blues. I think that tells us a lot about the Chiefs and also the team that we'll get to a bit later on. But talk to me about the boys from Hamilton.
I think last night's when did they play last night? Last night's performance, I think, just shows what this Chiefs team is about, and I think that they kind of takes them like up a few gears, right? Because they had their finals locked in. This result meant nothing to them. Okay, they played without D-Mac, Tokiaho, Tupovai. Like I can list Luke Jacobson, Quinn Tupaia, Leroy Carter. There's a ton of players that like half their first team wasn't playing. And they still put 59 points on the Blues. That just shows, like, yes, we know the Chiefs have been there and thereabouts for the longest time, right? That's 3 finals they've lost now. But I feel like that performance last night was them going like, no, like this is our year. And I think if there's a team, if they play in the finals, that could beat this Hurricanes team, it's that Chiefs team. But playing how they played last night, because that was... yeah, crazy. But again, we're like, you can say that, and off the back of history, yes, even if they make the final, they're just going to lose it. So who knows, man? Yeah.
It's crazy that the top two teams are like the two sort of perennial Super Rugby chokers from across the ditch as well. It's just gnarly, and it kind of comes down to what that team who's finished third is capable of. They come home. We talk about wet sails, far out. They come home having win their past 3 in a row, 4 of their last 5. The Crusaders finish 8 and 6, so the same record as the Reds and the Blues, but off the back of their bonus points, off the back of a clinical win over the Hurricanes at home, they will host a final, and they look in the best nick that we've seen probably all season.
Yeah, not again. It's happening again. It's happening again because it comes to this. They started the season off with 2 losses, I think it was, and then it comes to this end of the season, and it's like there must be like a switch like when you walk into the training ground, wherever they train, and it's like, oh, it's finals time. All right, let's pull the lever down. And everyone is like, all right, now we start winning and now we start playing. Like all their players, man, like Havili, Christian Leawili, Sevuris, they all now start to switch on and really you've seen how the reinvention of Lester Ganuku into the
turn
back
this
row,
season, mate.
And it's just like, what? He's been wasting his time at centre. He's a back rower, and it's just, I don't know how they're doing. They're doing it without Will Jordan as well, who's been, I think he's out now for the rest of the season. So, man, here we go again. It's the GTA meme. It's just, yeah.
It is. It's terrifying. I actually think like you talk about Fainga'anuku being wasted at centre, and it's crazy because he was still doing so well there.
Yeah.
But they've basically just looked at the Black Ferns and gone, oh, you see what George Jamila did? Can you just do that? He's just a ball running flanker who gets to roam and becomes effectively an AFL ruck rover. He goes wherever he pleases, picks up the ball, does whatever he wants, and it works perfectly for him. I would love to see their record. I haven't got it on hand, but since they shifted Fainga'anuku to 7, which I'm pretty sure was at Super Round, they have won, I reckon that'd be 5 of the last 6 then. And they've all come off the back of Fainga'anuku shifting across. What an incredible shake-up for them. They now host. They've been selling out Christchurch. All the momentum is with this Crusaders team.
That's what I wanted to touch on as well. Like, you can say what you like about them, that, they always win. Oh, let's get someone else to win. But they've sold out every game at the new stadium. That's 4 in a row now. And every other game that they're going to play there will be sold out as well. So, like them or hate them, like, you got to give them credit, man. Their ability to just turn up.
It's just awesome.
It's crazy. And then they've got the new coach, Scott Hansen, next year. So it's like, is it just going to get better? Like,
I don't know. I genuinely thought the dynasty had to end with Razor, and then bang, look at them. They're just they are a machine.
Was it 2 seasons ago where they missed out on finals?
Yep,
and they had one of their worst seasons ever, and then they won the next year. Like, what? Is that just whoever directs Super Rugby just gone, all right, guys, just chill out for a second. We need to get numbers up a bit here. We need to sell tickets elsewhere. Can we? Then we'll just miss out on one, and then I promise you can win again next year.
Yeah, you'll get one. Just have a lay year, have a gap year.
Yeah.
Go find yourself in South America. Yeah. Oh, the poor buggers. They're rolling in. They are in so much form. Conversely, as we sort of alluded to, the Blues very much crawling into finals. They've lost 3 in a row to finish out their season. Now, bearing in mind, they have all been against the teams above them. So it's not like they're slipping up against the Tahs or Moana or the Brumbies or whatever. They've lost to the Crusaders in, what was that, round 14, Canes last week, and Chiefs just this weekend gone. But Dane, it's the manner in which they've lost those games. It hasn't been close.
Nah, it's almost like a give up. So I don't want to say that. They're obviously going out there to give it their 100% and trying their best, and everyone goes out there to win games. But yeah, like you say, how they're losing. And yes, they've lost to those 3 teams. You're going to be playing against those 3 teams again now. Like, you don't get it easy. They've got Crusaders this weekend. That'll be it for them. I think it's just one too much. They're lucky to be in the finals, really. Yeah, there's not much out. I don't see anything. I think they're just going to bow out straight away.
But because they do finish in fourth and the Reds and the Brumbies very much outsiders to end sort of that hoodoo, I guess we can kind of go there now. But like the Blues, it feels like they're going to get bounced in straight sets. Like they'll go down to the Crusaders and then will likely face the Hurricanes, if we're honest. So that's back-to-back.
Because they might be the lucky loser, right?
That's where they're in the good position for because of the Reds and Brumbies having to go across the ditch and have that unenviable record. Yeah. I think the Blues are going to find themselves getting bounced in back-to-back weeks. I guess let's go there now. We do have the Crusaders and the Blues. This isn't the order of the games. The order of the games will be the Canes hosting the Brumbies on Friday night, then the Crusaders hosting the Blues on Saturday afternoon before the Chiefs host the Reds Saturday night. Let's go straight to that derby. Yeah. And that's the one, right? Crusaders Blues, because we've probably got the least amount to say here, I think. Hosting at One New Zealand Stadium to Kaha, this feels like it's a run-in for the Crusaders for me. But the Blues did a huge upset last year, getting rid of the Chiefs, so maybe they've got that dog in them. Who knows?
Yeah, they might for the first 20 minutes, I reckon, or the first half. But then Crusaders will come strong. I don't see. Like you said, I see the Blues just straight sets out. They might have a bit to give the first 30, 40, 50 minutes, but then, man, you got I think Perofeta's played 1 or 2 games good. Beauden Barrett has not been. I'll be surprised. Honestly, I'll be surprised if he'll make the All Blacks squad, right? But I'll be surprised if they pick him to play because he has not been, he just hasn't been the Beauden Barrett of old. And then, I will say the shining light, though, has been guys like Torian Barnes, Malachi Rampling. I've really enjoyed how they play, like bigger bodies as well in the back row. Like All Blacks or New Zealand's back row depth at the moment is wild. And those guys add to that. So that's been good. But again, I think Type 5, they've also been similar to the Brumbies where they've also like set piece and bullying you up front. And if all else fails, they revert back to that, but they just haven't had that this year. They Patrick Tuipulotu being in and out with injury, like he's their Artie Savia. Like, let's be honest, he's their guy, their inspirational leader, and he just hasn't been there. And they've just Darry's been all right, but just missing that brute physicality up front.
Yeah, I think it's been very much a tough sort of introduction to Super Rugby as a starter for Xavi Taylor. Just through the centres, they're missing the punch. Lamb was so good at the start of the year, but coming a little off the boil, just haven't quite settled on their ideal backline, and they can't just rely on Caleb Clark to do crazy things every time. So I think they probably will sneak Barrett in as the 23. Feels like he's sort of fighting it out with Cody Vai. So maybe he comes off the bench there, but it feels very much like a run-in for the Satyrs. Blues then give themselves a chance as the double, unless there's an upset. So let's start with the Canes and Brumbies. That's the Friday game. Hurricanes would be very excited to finally put that Brumbies hoodoo behind them. This is an ACT team that's beaten them in 3 of the past 4 final series, always in Canberra. As well. Yeah. Controversially, remember the Artie try that was overturned a couple of years back. It's been a great rivalry, that one. How do you see this playing out? Is there any hope that you can give to the Brumbies faithful?
If there's a few early red cards or something like that to the Hurricanes, let's be honest. I think the biggest issue for me for the Brumbies now is how they played now versus Moana Pasifika. That was pretty much their start. I don't know who else comes into that squad. That's their starting squad, and they were poor, very, very average. Started like a house on fire, got to 14-0, and we're like, okay, they could put 50 points on Moana here, but just died, man. And that's probably your biggest concern because you're going in now to where it matters. And if you look back, you're like, that's how we're playing going into the finals? Their confidence will be very low. You'd have to, I don't know, Stephen Larkham would have to do some sort of, I don't know if it's a drink up or they need to do something to change things up to get the energy, you know what I mean? Get to Mooseheads, put a bit of money on the tab, get the boys let's do the first training session at Mooseheads on the dance floor. Let's run a few straight 1-outs and let's just change it up a bit here. Get some energy going because off the back of that Moana game, man, you can't take anything from that because that was poor. And going into, like I said, the biggest game of the year for them right now, I don't know, man. I don't know. I
Yeah,
don't see it. Yeah.
It's gnarly. We will touch on the Moana result at the back end of this as well. We need to give that its own airtime. So don't think we're glossing over that incredible result, 21-19, Moana getting up over the Brumbies. The only thing I can think of is that there's some kind of mental gremlin at the back of the Canes' mind over losing all those finals. And we joke about them getting pissed for the week and just rolling in without a fear in the world, but that's kind of what they have to do. Yeah. Like they're backing up. It's a Saturday to a Friday game, a tight turnaround. They're traveling as well, so you've got to travel down to contend with. What are they getting? 2 training sessions, including a captain's run before this game. They've just got to throw the kitchen sink at them. Yeah. And I don't know if the kitchen sink's something you can throw at a Cane side that seems to own all the white goods in the world. Yeah. Like they've just got so much strike power. You can't outrun them. I'm not sure you can outkick them with the team that the Brumbies are putting on the park. And I can't see an avenue for their success right now.
No, this is like, while you're saying that, and while I've just heard myself say what I did, I'm like, the rugby gods could be just smiling
just
up
the
there.
Chokers, just the slight closing around the neck of Wellington.
We're winding him in, and they're just going to... The odds are going to be stacked in...
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's going to be wild odds. And the bookies are probably smiling because, who knows, man? We know that, like, in all sports, everyone puts the one team down and picks the one team up, and then the result happens and you're like, holy shit, no one saw that coming. But in saying that, like, this Hurricanes team, the swagger and confidence that they're playing with at the moment, like, I don't see it happening. I see 13 plus Hurricanes.
Yeah. Same boat. I'm saying like 50s to 20s, to be honest. If there's a world in which the Brumbies win, it's by the barest of margins. I think also the fact that the Canes know that they will play semi-final regardless. They have that security blanket as the top seed. That means that they'll just play their game. They don't need to suddenly go into their shell because it's finals. They can just go ham at them, and that really hurts the Brumbies' chances. If they were second or third, maybe the Canes go into their shell and protect. But this is a Canes team basically with an invincibility jacket on going, what have you got?
Advantage all game.
That's a great way of putting it. So, it's just tough. It's like you're going to have 16th man out there. So Brums for me will bow out 6th. Reds are the team that we've got a little more hope for, but so many qualifying finals we've seen in the past few years, it feels like they're always destined to meet the Chiefs. And the Chiefs have had their measure every time.
Yeah, man. And I feel like for Reds, it's going to be one of those ones where it's just that last hurdle is just too much. That high, it's they're running hurdles, but it's high jump. And it's just not
gets
like,
to steeplechase.
Yeah, that's right. The cowbells are going to be going, and it's just going to be like, I feel like it's going to also be one of those games where Reds might even score first, or they'll get an early penalty and kick the 3 points, and the score will end up being 40-3 or 40-10 or something like that. So, yeah, I'm sorry, man. I know that's what
true, man.
I feel like that's going to, like, it would need the Chiefs to be quite poor and the Reds to be playing at their ultimate best for a result to go in Reds' favour, because they don't have any advantage, right? If they lose, they're out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like Reds are buggered. Chiefs would need the Blues to do them a solid and get up over the side. So the Chiefs will very much know what's at stake for them.
Right,
they go in heavy favourites. I think the only way that the Chiefs can really get knocked out is if the Brumbies also upset as well, and there's all kinds of chopping and changing. It would be very unlikely. So, I mean, they had a great game. That game at Suncorp, what's that, 5 rounds ago in Brisbane, 31-21, bit of late hoo-ha, but that was really evenly matched. It feels like games in Hamilton, though, have an extra 10 points, and last year's qualifying final, like the Chiefs got out to such a good start, and the Reds chased the game all 80. They couldn't get back into it, really. And like you saw what they did to the Blues without 8 of their best players. So, man, it's going to be an uphill battle. I feel, unfortunately, like we are destined for this all-Kiwi semi-final, the Blues getting the extra chance and going back to the Canes. But, oh, man, like, where can the Reds win it if they can at all? Like, what areas will need to go well for them?
Well, I mean, your set piece first.
It's got to be perfect, right?
Yeah, it's got to be. You've got to be 100% both ways, and you've got to be disrupting. You're not just winning your own ball. You've got to disrupt the Canes as well. The Chiefs. How they set plays off, or how they set their attack off lineouts and scrums. it just gets the opposition so much on the back foot. Damien McKenzie's running onto that ball at full pace. You'll have someone on his inside. I think it was Quinn Tupaia last week who went through, off the back of a line out, he went through untouched.
that
they
was
had so many
dirty.
options. They got Tokiaho running around the corner. He's attracting like 7 defenders. Like, there's no ways, man. And then you've got Tupaia running short. You've got someone on his inside. You've got D-Mac out the back. It's like, who the fuck are you going to tackle, man?
No, you can't.
So that's probably your big... And the only way to stop that is if Salakai Lotu or Drua, those guys get up and actually steal or disrupt the ball in the line out. So as soon as they get that, man, you're on the back foot already. Scrum time as well, especially like anything midfield or anything like that. They've got so many threats across the park. And guys that are... Like, not just threats to score tries, right? But guys that can set up tries as well. Scary scenes, man. So I think that's where it all starts. All games start up front, right? But that's for the Reds. You just have to disrupt. I think disrupt at scrum, at rucks as well. Like, try to slow their ball down. But like, how? They got to just be
chief shit stirrers. Like disruption is one thing.
Yep.
They need to go full agitator mode. Like I would imagine that they run the exact same pack that they did against the Drua with 3 tall line-out options with Canham, Salakai, Lotto, and Uru. That's just to contend with the Jacobsons, the Vais, the Arcoys, the big targets that they'll have. If they can drag them into the shit, then maybe there's something there for the Reds, but it will take every single Queensland player to outpoint their man and some luck for them to do this. It's same position as the Brumbies, right? It would take close to a miracle for them to get this done.
Yeah, and it's not just like dragging them into the mud and playing, but it's doing that then for 80 minutes. Like,
and executing your ball.
That's right. Like,
the stars are going to align.
There's a lot of things have to happen or fall into place for that to happen. Yeah.
So we'll just have to wait and see. It's going to be a massive weekend. Of course, we're going to be rooting for our Aussies, but an 0-21 finals record across the ditch suggests that we are set for an all black, all semi. Dane, it'd be remiss of us not to touch on Moana before we wrap this up. We're nearing the hour mark, so we will call it time after this, but incredible scenes in Canberra to round out round 16, Saturday afternoon, GIO Stadium, the final likely game for Moana Pasifika in Super Rugby. We don't know what the future holds for them, but you could not have scripted a better ending to their 5-year stint in Super Rugby. What a win.
How good. Yeah, how good. Like, you coming up against a team who are, at the time, were the best Aussie team or the highest ranked Aussie team. You're up against it. They're going for finals. Like, they're firing. And then I think the stat was Brumbies Moana Pasifika's first ever win.
I think it'd be close too.
Yeah. And then now
first away win.
Yeah. And then now it's their last or potentially their last win. And man, they just wanted it that much more.
Had to be.
And the stars kind of aligned for that, but they just wanted it that much more. Even though they got 14 points put on them in the first 10 or 15 minutes, they just kept going, man. That's Samisi Tuputai Lua and Miracle Failangi. Like,
incredible.
Man, those guys are really good. I thought Patrick Pellegrini played really well as well. And then it's just disappointing. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right because it's like, what now? What now for so many players, for so many coaches, so many staff behind the scenes, for so many aspiring young Pacifica players that had like their own to work towards, right? A lot of people will say, oh, they just work towards the Blues or the Chiefs, or like, yes, they have been for the longest time because there hasn't been something that they could work to of their own, like a piece of their own, where now there has been. And Moana have done so well with setting up academies and bringing players over and giving Pacifica players opportunity, bringing them into the academies to see what they've got, giving them trial, like 2 or 3 trial weeks to see if they can cut it. And now just nothing. It's sad, man. It's sad.
It feels like the kind of loss we won't feel as keenly across the ditch here in Australia until we're a couple of seasons down the track. Like, I've been critical of the manner in which Moana has been sort of shoehorned in that Auckland market, the, I guess, statelessness of Moana insofar as they haven't been able to play on island. They haven't been able to connect as well as I think all parties would have liked. But what they bring as far as their music, their culture, their passion, and the incredible community that they still have managed to build in Auckland against the odds, it's going to be tough to see them go. I think the competition, as far as a 10-team entity, is somewhat strengthened, but it doesn't dilute how painful it is for so many Pasifika community members, for that rugby diaspora, to lose something that's still in its infancy. So I hope we see it continue in some way. I'm not sure how that looks, but for them to ice it with victory away from home after being denied the home fairy tale, I think they deserved so much to win that game against the Reds. Queensland got so lucky to get over the line late and rob them of a North Harbour farewell, but it just felt right to see them do that in Canberra.
Yeah, absolutely. It was cool seeing there's a lot of players and staff that were still back in North Harbour and them cheering on. It's awesome, man. It's cool. And then the sing, we did the last banging of the drum as well, which is cool to see. It's cool, man. It's just how much like you just mentioned there, what they've built in 5 years' time. Like the 5 years is nothing. Starting a team from scratch with no fan base. These teams have been around for years, and then just to start a team up and then try and steal fans and get new fans, and what they've done in these 5 years has been awesome. Like, obviously the results haven't always gone their way, but I hope there's more. I hope there's more chapters in the Moana Pasifika book.
Yeah, I feel like there can be. I feel like that representative pathway is something that we've sort of spoken about on pod and through socials. Seeing a touring Moana side, for me, would just be this incredible testament to Pasifika excellence in rugby. But again, it doesn't provide the academies. It's not the same grassroots offering that Moana aspired to be. So many more chapters we hope to be written insofar as that space. Dane, you've been so generous with your time, mate. I'm not sure if we're going to get you again before Super Rugby is wrapped. So give us your champion prediction from here. Who takes out Super Rugby Pacific in 2026?
I'm going to go Canes. I'm going to go Canes just because that's my other team, my second team. Well, it's going to be my first team now. You know what? I'm done, Tahs. Year of the Tahs is never going to happen. I've been pushing that for so long, and you fucking used this, let me down. So I'm going Hurricanes. Year of the Hurricanes. Year of the
Cane train. I think so many people are aboard the cane train just to see them finally do well. I think the competition deserves if it can't have an Aussie team in the mix, it deserves a Hurricanes Chiefs final. I, of course, will be rooting for my Reds, but it feels like that's where it's headed, yet my heart still warns of a Crusaders title. Like the way that they're finding form late in the piece, man. Like it's dangerous. I've got an inkling that we deserve the Hurricanes Chiefs final, but we're going to get a Canes Crusaders in Wellington. And we know what happens in the cake tin for those kinds of games. So I watch with bated breath. Thank you so much for coming on to Scrumbags Rugby Pod, Dane. It's been a pleasure to have your company. Where can the people find you and all the amazing content that you do?
I appreciate it, man. Thanks for the call up. Kick On Rugby everywhere. I'm even on TikTok, man. TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Kick On Rugby. You'll find the bald, sexy man there.
We love it. Rest up, mate. We hope the knee's going well. To our listeners, thank you for your time. Make sure you do go follow Dane over at Kick On across all the socials. He's doing incredible work. Get on that rocket early. He's going places. And we'll be back in your ears for Extra Time, our subscriber offering on Patreon, dropping Wednesday nights, coming out Thursday. That'll have our team lists and more. Plus, we're going to be previewing Super Rugby W. That's starting up next weekend as well. We are super excited to see that competition back in the mix. And until then, bye.
We're no going to France for the croissants.